What was the stupidest thing you have said done during sex? First real girlfriend didn't particularly like me going down on her. She was embarrassed by it for some reason. Either that, or I was really bad at it back then. One night I started to head south and she pulled me back up and asked why I always wanted to do that. I'd consumed a few adult beverages, and in my slightly drunken state I said the first thing that popped into my head: it's free. And I'm hungry. We broke up a few weeks later. My husband once turned round to me while we were fooling around and said, "Put your dick in my mouth." Clearly he wanted his dick in my mouth, but he f***ed it up and I couldn't stop laughing. Edit. I'm female. Don't have a dick. My ex is going to town on top of me. We're both having a great time, we're both close. It's about to be one of those magical moments where everybody comes together. He looks me in my eyes and asks if I like that. My stupid f***ing mouth decided to say oh yeah like the goddamn Kool-Aid man, and then my boyfriend started laughing so hard he went soft. What the FCK? Me? She said something along the lines of "you love my PSSY. Don't you?" and I thought it would be funny to reply One of the first times I was having sex with my first girlfriend, I got a leg cramp mid-thrust and just screamed out my leg as I nearly flung myself off the bed. That fish from SpongeBob became way funnier after that. Not me, but my ex once drunkenly said my youngest sister's name, and the heat of it ended things extremely quickly. I'm a guy. What she said to me: "I want to blow your brains out." What she meant: "I want to blow your mind." I shouted pound it into me right in his face. For no reason. Scared the life out of him and he flopped in seconds. It haunts me sometimes. Once upon a time I was prescribed sleeping pills to deal with insomnia. The doctor told me they'd take an hour or so to work. So an hour before I intended to go to bed, I took half of one just to see how hard they'd hit me. One thing led to another and my boyfriend and I started fooling around. I completely forgot I had taken the pill and proceeded to get on top of him. After a few minutes I started hallucinating. I was seeing clowns and circus tents. I was completely aware that I was hallucinating but powerless to stop it. So I just kind of went still and said, "We have to stop because clowns." Getting a BJ. Accidentally farted. Decided to not say anything in hopes of it not smelling like absolute tea. 20 seconds pass. It smelled like someone's tea on the floor. Needless to say, it ended right there. I knew I needed to marry my girlfriend when, after dating for 2 years, I confessed to her that I sometimes let out small farts on accident during blowjobs sex, and she responded with, "I know. Ha 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 ha, she's a real trooper." I was getting a pre-sex blowjob from my girlfriend and she turned on the TV for background noise and I happened to see that G.I. Joe was on, so I said, "Is that G.I. Joe?" Not sure if stupid, but as I was finishing I yelled, "I love you very much." My wife and I had been trying to conceive with little luck. It occurred to me that when young children ask where babies come from, the explanation usually starts with "when a mommy and daddy love each other very much." I figured it couldn't hurt our chances. Asked high school on-off girlfriend to marry me while mid-climax. She declined. Classic schmosby. I used to have a friends with benefits thing with this girl named Angela. After her, I started dating a girl named Andrea. One time I called Andrea Angela. That ended pretty quick. Andrea Angela. Angela evolved too. I called my boyfriend Dad instead of Daddy. FCK me. I was f***ing a girl once and she asked if I could feel the Mediterranean breeze in her PSSY. Stick your ear up to it and tell her you can hear the ocean. I brought home a girl from a bar one night. She was on top and asked me if I liked it rough. I said something like, "Yeah, baby." I had my eyes closed for a few seconds, and when I opened them she had her fist cocked back with a big tea-eating grin on her face. She clocked me in face, closed fist, and then was surprised when I pushed her off. I should never have had said yeah. Edit. Oh, first gold. About me getting FCK punched. When I was 16 and very inexperienced, I thought I'd be a little adventurous with my then BF. So I slipped my hand down his shorts hoping to give him a little joy. Except I didn't understand that dicks tend to tuck against one leg instead of floating right in the middle. Cue me patting him frantically and saying with genuine concern, "Where is it?" Didn't live that down the next 2 years of that relationship. Before we began, I got up to go grab a condom. The girl was like, "Just so you know, I'm on birth control. I got the implant. You can feel it right here." Rather than say something like, "I just like to be sure," or something non-offensive, I looked her dead in the eyes, said, "Well, I've had a vasectomy. I don't wear condoms to prevent babies." She never called me back. I had just ended a long-term relationship and had barely started dating again when I met a girl on a dating app and we went out for a few drinks. Everything was pretty cool and we had a good time despite me being rusty and distracted by thoughts of my ex. Somehow we got back to my place and started making out. Things got hot and right as we started to take our clothes off, she stops us and, in a deathly serious tone, she says, "Wait. I have something important to tell you. I don't shave my bush." I just laughed out loud cause I thought that was so ridiculous. Like, we're about to get down, girl, I don't care about something dumb like that. Except to her. My laughter meant I was making fun of her for not shaving her bush. Before I knew it she was gone in a huff. Edit. Obligatory thanks for the gold. Said I love you for the first time. Thankfully, we're still together almost 7 years later. I asked about our plans for the day while receiving a blowjob. The answer was half a blowjob. Thanks for the gold. Huh? I want to ride you without a condom. Me. You got HIV. First time. Got scared. Halfway through eating her out I had a massive panic attack and locked myself in the bathroom. PSS, why so good, it put the fear of God in you, boy. Edit. Thank you for my first ever gold. My wife was feeling really frisky one night and was telling me she wanted me. I tried to, in my SZest voice, to sound all turned on and blurted, "Do you want some wine or SX?" Needless to say, no. She didn't want wine or SX. Edit. It's nice to know my very first gold in all the time I've been on Reddit has been because I blundered dirty talk with my wife. Thanks. Tried taking my condom off by the tip of the rubber instead of the base and ended up snapping my tip. She said, "Show me who the boss is." I thought of Tony Danza. Insta shrivel. The current girlfriend and I were hanging out at her apartment. Decided to watch a movie. We both like LOTR a good bit, so we put the Fellowship of the Ring on. After some foreplay things started heating up. The clothes come off and we start going at it. Keep in mind that LOTR is still playing in the background. We're going about our business and everything is great. And the movie is now to the point where the hobbits are in the bar and Pippin is attempting to get a pint from the counter. Knowing a line that was coming up. Without really thinking, she says Frodo Baggins loudly. With the most dramatic rolled R I've ever heard. You can hear Pippin say it off to the side right before Frodo goes into a panic. So she just thought it would be funny. She was right. We had to stop for a while until the laughter died down. We now reference it all the time. Why is it not totally straight? First time I saw a curved one, I asked, "Is it always like that?" I was with my then girlfriend. At the moment of truth I shouted, at the top of my lungs, "I'm coming inside you so hard right now." She froze, her eyes wide, and then she burst out laughing. We've been married for over 20 years. When the children aren't around, she'll randomly yell, at the top of her lungs, "I'm coming inside you so hard right now." 20-year inside joke. Still funny. Edit. Whoa. Thanks for the silver. I have insomnia, so I take prescription Ambien. Sometimes my boyfriend doesn't make it clear before I take my meds if we're going to have sex that night or not. Usually it's not a huge deal as long as we do it pretty promptly. But sometimes it takes a little too long. I completely forget doing this. But apparently I was able to finish and then began crying. Worried he hurt or upset me. My boyfriend was concerned, asking me if I'm okay, trying to figure out what's wrong, etc. I told him I was crying because I wanted to show him the butterflies down by the lake. We had been to a butterfly greenhouse a week or so prior, because the butterflies were so pretty and he needed to know that they loved him so much. Then I passed out, dead asleep, still on top of him. I said my ex's name. Mortified. Edit. Clarification that I said the name. You dated someone named Mortified? Kinky. When I was in my late teens early 20s, I was dating this girl who worked at a McDonald's. She came over right after work one night, and I wanted to fool around. But she was hesitant since she's still all gross from work. No. I need to shower. I smell like French fries. So we end up making out a bunch and one thing leads to another and then I'm going down on her. And I thought it would be funny to say, yeah, you're right. You do taste like French fries. And that was that. She immediately pulled her pants back up and I was done for the night. My partner and I were role-playing nurse and patient. Me being the nurse. I was killing it at first. But then I started running out of things to say. In a panic, I whispered, "You wanna know a secret? I failed medical school." Was in the midst of heavy foreplay with my fiancé registered signee when out of my mouth came, "I want your cock in my mouth" instead of "I want my cock in your mouth." Laughed for 5 minutes straight, then FK'd to her mouth. My girl once put her hand on my dick and said, "Pull the lever." Kronk. When things were starting to get hot, I started laughing so much I couldn't keep it hard. Edit. Reddit cliche. My first gold. Thanks. Kind stranger. I love you. I meant to say, I love this. But I FK'd it up. It was our first time together. And no, I was not a virgin. I was experimenting with my girlfriend. We hadn't done anything sexual before. And midway through teaching her how to give a handjob I said, "I think you've got the grip of it." That was the end of that for the night. I was having sex with an ex-GF. We hadn't been seeing each other very long, so it was still new and exciting. And we were starting to test the waters of dirty talking to one another. Well, out of nowhere she looks up at me as I'm on top of her and she looks me straight in the eyes and asks, "How do you like that little PSSY?" Needless to say, I found that to be a huge turn on, and instead of taking my time to think up a good response, I immediately countered with, "How do you like that little dick?" We tried to not giggle but found it to be impossible and ultimately called it quits for that round and ended up ordering pizza and watching a movie instead. We dated for 10 years after that and were engaged for 5. Edit. Bro. I genuinely can't thank you all enough for all the feedback. And thank you for the gold. I was in bed with an ex-girlfriend who was very new to kink and eager to explore. On this particular night, we were experimenting with various kinds of spanking. After moving from bare hand to small floggers and then to paddles, I picked up a favorite belt. It was a braided belt made of supple leather. Perfect both restraint and spanking. I was laying on my back and she was on all fours over me while I was delivering a series of stronger and stronger strikes to her ass. She's really enjoying this. So I tell her to brace herself for a really good one. It was a good one. Alright. But it didn't land where I intended it to. Instead of striking her right on the cheek like all the strikes, this one wrapped around the curve of her ass and tagged my right and my left nut. She tried to contain her laughter as I squirmed and clutched my groin. The swelling subsided after about 20 minutes with an ice pack. One time my ex drank a lot of water before we had sex and his stomach kept making that water sloshy sound. with an ex. She's sitting on the edge of the bed as I walk up with my shirt off. She starts tracing my chest with her finger and slowly works her way down. But she makes a stop to make a playful boop and poke my abdomen. This was just enough pressure for me to let out a huge fart. Still had sex. Just took a few moments to get all the giggles out. I just let all my music shuffle on a speaker because she didn't like to have sex without any background noise. Randy Newman's "You Got a Friend in Me" came on. I couldn't resist singing to it while f***ing. But slightly changed the lyrics to "You Got a Friend in You." SI times were promptly stopped and I had to make a dedicated playlist. I asked, "What was your name again?" Bad move. Was her name Mortified? I accidentally called out my own name in the middle of doing the deed. Holy sh*t, you feel just like your sister. Better than holy sh*t, you feel just like my sister. I was having some passionate sex with my wife. We were in a close missionary position. And she looked at me and said, "You are my macho man," and I respond with my best impression of Macho Man Randy Savage, "Ooh yee." We both laugh and continue on with it. My wife isn't great at dirty talk and she knows I have a killer Randy Savage impression. I can't believe she set me up like that. And she gets a little annoyed when I tell this story. She wanted me to talk dirty to her while she was stroking me to get me hard for SI time. Me, being the prodigal genius that I am, uttered, "You're summoning my PP." Needless to say, SX was postponed for about an hour by her continuous laughter. One time I accidentally said "oh heck." She liked to refer to my penis as her penis. So I asked her if she liked the way my vagina felt around her penis. We laughed for a good hour. My ex commented how deep I was in her and I paused and in my best Jim voice said, "Deep. Like the mines of Moria." Having two very young kids, we've become very familiar with a lot of nursery rhymes and whatnot. And one time during SI times, in the midst of it, I somehow blurted out, "Johnny Johnny yes papa." Thankfully my wife had a sense of humor and she went, "Oh yes. Yes. Papa." As a guy I have really sensitive nipples and enjoy them being touched, licked, etc. In the middle of sex I tell my wife, "Suck my tits." She seemed unfazed. But the rest of the time I was thinking about how f***ing weird and dumb that sounded. She asked me what I was thinking about. I said the wallpaper. Semicolon. A woman I was dating told me that when I orgasmed I moaned like a dying elephant. While my boyfriend and I were doing the deed I noticed something completely random and weird. There was a small blade of grass stuck to his penis. He removed it and we laughed at the randomness. We continue doing our thing and when I noticed he is about to finish I yell, "Yes baby, plant your seed in me." It was hilarious and I regret nothing. Left South Park on in another room. Had sex. Mid-coitus. Heard a joke that caused both of us to laugh a ton. Could not get our heads back in the game. So stopped to go watch South Park. I have a friend. Let's call him Steve. Who was dating a girl who really liked Nicolas Cage, and a while back there was a meme going around about stealing the Declaration of Independence. Steve didn't really think these memes were very funny, but his GF insisted on sending them to him daily. Well, while they were having sex one day, Steve was giving it to her good, and right as she was about to reach climax he leans over and whispers in her ear, "I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence." X and I were getting busy. We were both feeling extra goofy. Before the SX, I told her I was gonna say all kinds of silly shit. Right before I came, I shouted, "I'm shifting into maximum overdrive." And I'm 99% positive that that was the moment I conceived my son. We were 18 and she wanted to try calling me daddy, but initially I was opposed to it cause it killed the mood for me, but I tried to let her try it out. "What's my name?" Heisenberg. Fell asleep while getting a BJ. I told her while I was on top, "Ready or not, here I come." Full stop. My ex was a petite girl, close to a foot shorter than me. Early in our relationship, she told me, I want you to be more physical during sex. Pick me up. Throw me around. Stuff like that. I reckon she probably figured I'd like pick her up, place her on the bed and we'd bang. Or we'd do the old PRN staple of man picks up girl whilst f-king her. My dumber self instead started kissing her, getting real passionate. Then picked her up by the armpits and launched her onto the bed. Keep in mind, this was a 4 feet 11 skinny girl being thrown by me. 6 feet 0 and pretty big. She literally bounced. Hit her ass on the bed head. Probably could have salvaged it at that point, if I'd apologized. Said I didn't know my strength. Instead, I went FCK yeah, and raised my arms in the air. She was less than pleased. We didn't have sex again until the bruising on her ass went away. And that took a while.